you have to be more honest with yourself. If there's anyone you should be honest with, it should be yourself. One day earlier this year, I was like, you know what? I don't know who I am. I asked myself, who am I? And I couldn't answer that question. Because when I thought about, me in a job interview and I'm asked, okay, who are you? I'll start with my name, I'll start with my skills, I'll start with my degrees, or I'll just start with all of those things. But those things don't make who I am. And I kind of got set into like a sort of panic, some sort of existential crisis because I'm like, dang, who am I? And I realized for the longest time that not only have I been lying to myself about my identity, but I've been lying to myself about a whole lot of things. There's no one who I can gaslight better than myself. And I gaslight myself every day. Although it's gotten better, I've been doing my best, and I can say that I've been more honest with myself. And it's showed because I guess I've kind of tended towards solitude because I've also become honest in not hanging out with people who I just don't want to fake and pretend around. But yeah, anyway, so one day I was like, you know what? Today is the day. Today is the day I end I K1LL myself mentally, meaning I strip myself of my identity that I've had and I really analyze who am I. So what I did was actually a bit weird. So it was in the night and I took a bath like at 11 a.m. at 11 p.m. But I've been doing this for the longest time. I switched on the lights and I took a bath. And I almost had this sort of like mock sensory deprivation sort of setup. And then I was just there and I was thinking, who am I? Well, first I stripped myself of my identity, my beliefs, my thoughts. And I asked myself, who am I? And the first thing that came up is I could say like, okay, maybe I am a person who's very ambitious. But being ambitious doesn't really make you because I was like, okay, once I achieve my goals, then what? Because I can't define myself by my goals. Because if you're ambitious, then it's kind of like you're chasing the goals forever. I'm not saying you shouldn't be ambitious. I'm a very ambitious person, but that's a character trait of who I am, not who I am in general. So I came up with the thing, okay, I'm a person with thoughts, passions, and purposes. I don't want to limit myself to one purpose. That's why I said purposes. And then I asked myself, okay, a lot of my who I am is characterized by my morals. So I asked, what are my morals? And I thought that wow, morals are low key subjective. And I've had like knowledge of this, but I never really implemented it like into my like psyche. So then I decided that okay, my morals come from Christ, from the Bible. Because I feel like that is the best objective sort of morality you can go by. Because if you hinge on the morality of human beings, Lord have mercy. What else? So, and then I thought, okay, but I'm not my passions, I'm not my purposes, and I'm not my thoughts. I guess you can say that my thoughts, passions, and purposes are almost like a secondary character, like my morality or the morals I hold on to. And then I thought, now where can a human get their identity? And I was like, dang, I was thinking for a long time. And then it hit me. The answer has been with like in front of my eyes the whole time. I'm literally a child of God. That's what I am. So if people ask me, who am I? I just say I'm a child of God. Because who else am I supposed to base my identity off? Most people base their identity off their creator. Like I'm my mother's child and my father's child. And I don't think that's wrong, but I feel like if you base your identity on yourself, it's almost like you're saying you created yourself. You understand what I mean? You're not God. You cannot create. I actually had a conversation with someone else. I think I'll make a video about that. My whole conversation with someone about that. But yeah, anyway, so I thought about that and I was like, I'm low-key just a child of God. I'm a child of God. And God tells us this, like in the Bible, He tells us like you're made in my image, you are my child. Like he gives you all these things stating your identity already. And so many people go soul searching for identity for the longest time when the answer is literally in front of their eyes. Sometimes the answer isn't as difficult as we make it seem. And I think that's the problem with a lot of people who think. I don't want to say intelligent because it doesn't mean you have to be intelligent in order to think. Intelligence is also another thing. But yeah, so yeah, that's where I really got my sense of identity from. That's when I became honest with myself. Is I really found out who I am. I'm still obviously figuring out who I am, and your passions and purposes obviously will mold, and they're not stagnant. Your identity in a human form isn't human form. In your physical sort of worldly form isn't stagnant. You should never base yourself on one concept, one principle, because then you're limiting yourself. Because you can be who you want to be. Christ literally says, "Come as you are." You can be who you want to be in Christ, and that is your identity, a child of God. You don't have to, lie to yourself and say, "No, I want to be this, I want to be this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this," as the world tells you, because you aren't. Yeah. Not only that, but in terms of honesty and being honest with yourself, you have to be honest when telling yourself certain truths. For example, if you like a guy and you're hanging out with that guy, and that guy is giving you mixed signals, and you're like, "Oh, maybe, just maybe, yo, if a person likes you, you will know." There is no need to wish washy, try to convince yourself of these things. And life becomes so easy once you realize these truths. Also, truths about other people, the truths that you convince yourself about other people. People are not as scary as you think, you know? Approaching yourself to people, also being truthful to yourself in terms of telling yourself the truth if you're not good at something. If you're good at something, giving yourself credit, and if you're not good at something. Because a lot of people, they kind of downplay what they can do in life, and they also overplay what their abilities. And it doesn't mean that if you're being truthful with yourself, saying, "Well, I'm low key terrible at math," it doesn't mean you say, "I'm low key terrible at math right now," but it doesn't mean I can't improve. That is the thing about humans. You can literally build up your adaptability, and that is so beautiful. But you have to be truthful with yourself about things, about people. If you and a person just don't gel well, don't force it. Be truthful to yourself, saying, "Me and this person will never gel well." Be truthful to yourself, saying that, "Wow, I'm a sly, conniving person. I need to low-key change my life." But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.